gentlemen, you're probably wondering what that noise was. Let me tell you, it's the sound of me re-recording this pre-podcast breakdown, the PPB, for like the 25th time. And I just got all these nerves and jitters, and I've come to find that making some stupid noise before I get started, or as I get started, kind of calms me down a little bit and helps things go with the flow. So I'm just going to be doing that from now on before every episode. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. This episode is brought to you by nobody. This is a rogue podcast, an independent podcast, and we bend the knee. We kneel to no sponsors. But when they do come around, you better believe I'll be on both knees doing anything they want, because that would be, how do you like to say, a life-changing event. To get paid to podcast, that'd be pretty f***ing cool. But I got to get better at it before that happens. That's kind of the mantra of this trial and error thing, in it. The name of the podcast? Yeah. So on this episode, I have a guest. And that guest, believe it or not, has a name. It may not mean anything to you yet, but it will once I talk about it. This guest is none other than Matt Nevins. He is a level 2 father. He's from Minnesota, which means he knows how to survive. He's also a foreman. He knows how to fix things. He can grow a beard. He can hike for weeks on end, and he can hear out of one ear only. Not to mention, he is married to my cousin Mallory and weaves into this family, making a nice, wholesome, and strong basket. Anyways, metaphors aside, Matt is my literature guy, the literacy guy. That's what this episode is focused around. We'll be talking about Stephen King and other literature-type topics. Of course, we'll digress. It's the Trial and Error podcast. There's always going to be digression. But we're roping it back. We're bringing it back. And other episodes, we'll be talking about his outdoor prowess. He's hiked the Grand Canyon with his brothers for weeks on end, like I've said before. So that will be podcast in the future, but for now we're gonna stick to this tasty topic of literature. Tastes a little bit like salted pork. Yes, Gimli, salted pork. That's another thing I'd like to start doing because I love movies. I am fluent in the tongue of movies, and I'm just gonna be putting in a lot of different excerpts and references and sound clips, so I hope you enjoy it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as Matt and I splash and pedal around the pond of literature in this episode of Trial and Error. I was happy going with Gertz in high school. It was one of those last names in football where it's just short. You could put the F word in front of it. You can do a lot of things with that last name. Nevins as well. It's short. It's sweet. Gets the point across. It says, I'm from Minnesota, but I moved to California.
It's always served me well.
Oh, yeah. So you're here for a reason, and there'll be plenty of digression in this podcast, but we're going to try to stick to a singular topic. Think of it as a line, if you will, and then we're going to... what's the earthquake detector device?
Seismograph.
We're going to seismograph and or Jerry Springer lie detector, just scribble all over the side in digressive conversation, but the main line down the middle, the constant, will be literature. Yes, we're going to talk books. I was rubbing my nipples there for a little bit.
See them through your shirt.
More specifically, this time we'll talk about the GOAT. I don't know about the GOAT. That's a squirrely conversation. The GOAT of writing. I'm going to talk about Stephen King. But to call him the GOAT, that's a tall tale, if I may stay all poetic.
That's a tall order.
How tall's the order?
The tall order, I mean, you got to take into account Sam Clemens.
Sam Clemens.
Yeah, Sam Clemens.
You use his real name?
Well,
oh, you're that guy.
If you're stating the topic of conversation as literature, I might as well.
Like, because you're amongst the audience. What is that called? That nickname that writers have.
Well, I was actually just hoping that you wouldn't recognize that I was talking about Mark Twain.
Of course, Mark Twain. You're dealing with me, sandwich. No, I have a a hefty Santa Claus-sized sack of ignorance behind my back right now. So if you could do your best to give me your presence of knowledge.
Well, definitely.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I do dig Stephen King though. He was really the first author that I read a great deal of their work. Was one of the few authors, like when I was reading when I was younger, that I could pick up a heavier, heftier, thicker book.
Hold that microphone up to your. You've seen porn. That's just the technique. Get in there. Just talk to it. Caress the mic. Be friends with the mic. Mike's a good person. Anyways, apologies. But do you think that when you're younger, you see a kid with a really fat book, with something real thick, like an It, and would you judge them like, oh, look at you with that big old book? You think you're better than me because I'm reading Berenstain Bears?
I have been reading a lot of Berenstain Bears lately,
thin books, I should say. It's not all about size.
No,
it's the content.
I mean,
it's the content. Am I right?
If I saw a little kid walking around reading It, I'd be thinking that kid's going to be disturbed by the time he's done reading it.
Absolutely.
There's some pretty dark stuff in there.
I feel like a fair amount of disturbance is the status quo as we are human beings. We're just some wacky goddamn creatures, just letting these words of other human beings affect us in such a way.
He just he had a good turn of phrase. Yeah, he was good at describing things, and really in reading a lot of his stuff, I felt pretty immersed.
What do you think sets him apart? Is it because I read recently On Writing, and it's such a conversational tone, but because he's just talking to you, it's a pretty unique perspective. It's like a self-help book, but it's like a personal conversation with him. But on his other books, he does, sometimes he uses really big words. He tries to throw me off. I get stumbled up, I'm not going to lie. He'll toss a word out there.
I think I haven't read On Writing, but it sounds like it's maybe in a different tone than maybe the novels.
Yeah, I'd say a little more conversational, not as proper, but still well written.
He's not really telling a story.
No, it's it's a somewhat of an autobiography, but more of his writing career. He shows where he was. He was borderline. No, not borderline. He was an alcoholic, cigarettes. It was just going through that and his near-death experience.
Yeah,
I had no idea. He goes into quite the detail in it. But
I think I read somewhere he found the guy that had the van. And he bought it so that it wouldn't end up on eBay or something that. Just so he would have it, and somebody else couldn't make a grip load of money off
the
it.
van that almost killed Stephen King.
I don't know if that's true. I remember reading that somewhere.
In the book, he mentions the guy died, and he didn't seem cold, but he was indifferent. He's like, he died some years later, yada, yada, yada. But the coolest part about that story that I found was he was just on one of his walks, right? And his spectacles, his glasses, flew off his head and were unharmed. He's like, I'm wearing the same glasses right now as I write this.
That's wild.
Yeah. Near death. But he finished it. That's that book's from the 90s, I want to say. But it holds true, though.
I've definitely heard about it, and I've always heard people say it's good. But I got into some other authors, a little bit heavier. Kurt Vonnegut.
Your eyes averted.
Indeed.
Yes, they do. It's hard to.
You
have to switch it up, though.
I came back and reread it before I went and saw it in the movie theater, and I didn't really remember how really. All of this stuff is pretty dark, but that in particular it's dark because it has to do with children and just bad things happening to kids is definitely a darker tone than even some of his other stuff.
It's a pretty sinister coming of age, because all those kids had some muffed up backstories, like the Beverly and her dad. That's pretty.
That was yeah.
I'll come out and say it. I never read the book, but I saw the movie and will try to speak all sorts of proper from what I learned there. What would your It be? What would if you, Matt Nevins, were walking down the street and walked into some random haunted house and it came out and spooked you? What would be your most fearful thing? What would be scaring you? A mountain lion, perhaps, the one that almost got you?
I guess my biggest fear, is of sharks. super irrational.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the room could fill up with water.
As long as you don't go in the ocean, you have like a 0% chance of being attacked by a shark, pretty much.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a high percent chance when you're younger that the shark will be in your pool when you're diving in, because sharks just get there. Yeah, like, do you ever have that irrational fear that like like a shark is just going to be in your pool for some reason?
Yeah.
Like, of course he's there. A fear that sometimes, it makes me think twice.
I mean,
I always look before I jump in.
I mean, still even from like Jaws. Like
Absolutely.
Tahoe, I'm like there's.
Oh my.
What's the movie?
Lake Placid.
No.
Or the porno Lake Placid.
There's sharks. There's sharks in Lake Tahoe. That's the movie. Dolph Lundgren plays some like marine biologist, comes in and has to track the shark down. And
there is no shark in Tahoe.
Some sort of hybrid bull shark that can live in fresh water.
What is that?
I don't remember the name of the movie. You should Google it.
I don't like that.
But yeah, I saw that. So, I mean, even though I know that for a fact there's no sharks in Lake Tahoe, 1,000 feet of water under me is just like black when you look down.
I don't like that.
That's
the thing for me. Like open water, we'll go to Meeks Bay all the time because the ants always have to go there, and I'll swim out and it gets about, I want to say 12 to 15 feet deep, but it's still like light blue water because like the ground is right there. So, but it drops off in about a matter of like 5 feet. It just drops downwards at like a 45-degree angle into nothing but pure darkness. I do not like the fact that anything can come out of there because your imagination is back there and it fucking sucks. And sometimes I'll freak myself out, and I know myself. Like there's a tentacle or some robot hand or a little girl, like a 3-year-old girl in a school holding hands with her twin. Something's gonna get you. The abyss, I should say.
Maybe even Jason Voorhees.
Who's that? I say ignorantly. Jason Voorhees?
The guy.
Oh, that Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, that Jason.
The kid drowned in the lake.
Sorry, yeah.
So he comes back and he kills all the camp.
It would be in Tahoe. What would the Jason look like if Tahoe had his own Jason?
It's at Camp Crystal Lake, and there's a Camp Crystal Lake somewhere up in the Sierras.
Or if Lake Tahoe had their own Jason, what would that character look like if it was Phil? Birkenstocks, of course.
Birkenstocks and dreadlocks.
Dreadlocks that cover his face because they wrap around. Man, okay, so we fell off. We're back to Stephen King. There we go. What do you think? I've actually asked you this before. We had a good conversation, so I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to boomerang it. What do you think the best book-to-movie adaptation has been so far?
There's definitely a few. I don't know if I could pick just a single one. I mean...
You toss a few at me. Humor me.
The Shawshank Redemption. That was a really good one.
Andy Dufresne.
The Body, which is Stand By Me.
Stand By Me is
that's pretty close.
Will Wheaton's best movie? ?
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't think I've really seen much else.
River Phoenix is best part.
River Phoenix. Rest in pieces, River Phoenix. No, that was tasteless. My apologies. I just saw. Hey,
let's see what else.
Drugs will get the best of them.
As far as Stephen King, that's a couple of Stephen King ones. Tommyknockers was pretty good.
Tommyknockers.
That's a pretty good one. It's spacey for sure.
I can do space.
Yeah,
I can do space all day.
It's about a crashed UFO. Was like buried in the ground, and this people find it and they're like possessed by it.
Ooh, that's hot.
Gives them the weird like otherworldly energy. It's pretty creepy. The movie was done pretty well, I think.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. The Cell was pretty bizarre in its own regard. It was somewhat of an invasion, but like no aliens. And he does himself the favor of not ending the story before describing exactly what the enemy force is. Because in it, it's the one where like the cell phones go off and everybody that answers it like
them into zombies.
So like they go crazy, but then over time they become more tame. But they just start describing how they operate, how they start moving together, working together, but still like outrageously violent in different times. And then they had like levitation stuff. Yeah, like with I remembered seeing the trailer for it before I listened to the audiobook. And it's John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson is supposed to be like little gay dude that like sticks with it like till the end. They like become homies in the beginning. But damn, like it was pretty. Some of the descriptions and things that happen are pretty dark.
Yeah.
And then there's one. I will not spoil this. But one of the characters dies, and you're like, I mean, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not. It's a Stephen King book. People are gonna die. Like one character dies, and you're like, no. I'm upset. I remember I was driving to Roswell, and I was like, now I'm sad. My tire was flat, metaphorically speaking, and I had to keep driving until I just kind of had to get over it, put on a new donut of emotion, and keep driving forward with the book.
Also,
but damn,
The Shining.
Controversial Shining.
Quite a bit different from the book, but the movie stands on its own.
It does. Do you think that The Shining is famous more for Stanley Kubrick or for Stephen King?
Definitely Kubrick.
Yeah. Because it would have just been another decent book of Stephen King's. When a lot of the hubbub from what I can tell surrounding that movie is how Kubrick, like, he took his own liberties with the story and did vast differences.
But they did do a remake.
They did?
Yeah. No.
What?
It was like a made-for-TV thing, though.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely closer to the book. Stephen King had a lot more creative control on that one. I'm pretty sure, because that one's pretty close to the book. But Kubrick's version is the first time I saw that. I think I was like maybe 12 or 13 years old. My brother Sean was like a film buff.
How buff?
He did go to film school for a couple of years.
That's pretty buff, if I do say so myself.
He was always shooting video and stuff on these cool old cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no, it definitely is probably the scariest, in my opinion. Or it gives you the most creepy feeling and stuff like that.
It stays with you. Like, there's a difference between movies
it stands out for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Any of the, I mean, the only reason I don't say it's the best one is because it's not that close to the book. But it's more just the movie stands on its own, disregarding the book almost. He rewrote it. I mean, it's basic storyline and a lot, there's a lot that's very similar, but like the best parts of it, Kubrick wrote.
Right.
As far as like the movie and how it's directed and how it's acted and everything, for sure, Kubrick was the one that made the bigger impact.
Damn. Yeah,
dude was
I'd say
the script like every single day.
That would piss me off if somebody took my book and completely read it. And like, I'm glad that they're taking the time to make it into a film. Like,
I don't know, man.
Slap you in the titties.
Kubrick wasn't like a nobody when he did that.
He's a somebody.
That wasn't his first movie.
No,
he was a renowned, great writer and director. So it's like, I don't know. I think Stephen King should have just stepped back and like do what you do, because even though it's not the exact same story, is more dramatic somehow, because the book is super creepy too.
Which one would you say is a bit more?
I did read the book before I saw that movie though.
Right.
And I don't know, man. You think that Jack Torrance is a scary character in the book? Jack Nicholson fucking made him scarier, dude. He was
that look in his eyes. He's amazing. He's just outrageous. Like, I don't know. It's hard. Like, the great thing about books is you can come up with whoever you think of in your mind, what a character truly looks like, without any visual reference. You just have your imagination. Yeah. But whenever you read it, if you see the movie first and read it, like, that's absolutely Jack Nicholson. When you like see him, did he personify exactly what Jack Torrance was?
Oh yeah.
In the book, yeah.
Absolutely.
Just like, do you just tell, like, when does it start sinking in the book that he's just truly losing? Is it what he says? Is it inner monologue?
It's, I don't know. It's.
I like how the fridge turned on and the light flickered. There's not enough power.
Power, Morty.
God damn it, Morty. Need more power, Morty. 100 years.
No, I don't know. It's just you can tell just by the look on the guy's face, like he's slowly kind of losing his grip,
Aren't we all?
All of a sudden the camera just steals a shot of him, just kind of like staring off,
No, in the book rather.
Or in the book?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of inner monologue. So it's, you can. So.
Do you think it's worth some average Joe like me to go out and purchase this?
Sure. Yeah. No, you won't feel like your time was wasted.
What Stephen King book do I read right now? Somebody's come up to you and said, Matt, give me a book. Like, I need it. Which one would you put in front of the other? Who's the alpha? Who's the leader?
You're talking about book to movie adaptations. I want to see, like, they did one. It was made for TV, but it was for The Stand.
The Stand.
I want to see that redone. And I think if it was the right people doing it, it could be
epic.
Epic for sure.
Because there's just a huge battle at the end.
It could even be that, it would be awesome as if like HBO did like a full on season about it, like 10 episodes.
Right.
Because it's a long, like the book is 4 inches thick.
Right. It's a good read though.
It may be over 1,000 pages.
Wow.
It's a thick read, but
thick. Will it draw envy from those on their phones looking over at you? Like, damn, that's a thick book. He must be a thick dude.
Yeah,
like
probably.
Indicative, one might
they're
say.
Think there's something wrong with you because why aren't you looking at your phone?
True.
Really, it's like a long story to tell. So
okay. Does it end in such a way?
Long character development and, a lot of good twists and turns. Great, I guess, if you'd say, like, stylistically wise, but it's a really good, well-told story, but it's like he's not, like, turning a phrase or anything like that. You know what I mean?
It's just good storytelling.
Yeah.
That's all right.
But no one part necessarily sticks out in particular, But it's like a battle of good and evil, post-apocalyptic.
Does it end in a good way, I should ask, or just a Stephen King way, I suppose?
Stephen King way.
I did not particularly like the ending of Cell because he does something and then it's like, all right, well, like we've been waiting this entire book for us to figure out what happens.
Yeah.
And then he ends it right there.
Leaves it hanging. But you know what though? I think
proving blue balls to be true.
Done in the right way, like The Road.
Mm-hmm.
That's very much a story like that, but
starring Viggo Mortensen?
Yeah, the book though by Cormac McCarthy. Excellent. Aside from Stephen King book to movie adaptations, that's an excellent one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good. I don't know. It's crazy when books say like The Stand or like The Road, like a post-apocalyptic. I mean, we have the means to make that happen. Like I think a drawing part of those is like it could be real. It's fiction, but it's
and it's not even about like what happened because they don't even really talk about what happened that much. It's all about trying to just survive.
Absolutely.
And it's like, what do you call it? Noir style, where they step in and it's like the story's already begun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like they talk about what happened already, but like whatever big event already happened or
it already happened. That's honestly tough. There's something big that happens in the book that I'm writing. There's a war that's already happened, and so it's like, when do I sprinkle in enough to hint at, like, to bring the reader up to speed? It's kind of a bitch because it's like, how do I not over describe right here and then give them enough detail at the right time for them to be drawn in? Like, do you like things being laid out right at the beginning, or like slowly, but like
no, not
figure out more as you go?
I like as a reader not necessarily know everything right at the beginning.
Yeah, but people are impatient these days.
And I don't know. I think it's more interesting to have like a character. It makes them more complete to like have them thinking or talking out loud about their memories.
Yeah.
Especially in something like that, because they can talk about what things were like before because how different it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way to like give the reader that information.
I feel you.
Rather than like laying out the entire scenario right away, you get little insights into the character's head through like sprinkled throughout the story because say they see something, that they haven't seen in a long time, and that gives, that's where you slip in like, this is how it was before.
Right. I just feel like people's attention spans are,
over before they begin. Like, there's nothing there. Like, it's not instant gratification. So, let alone book readers. You know, I feel like even they are somewhat impatient. Like, just for a story to develop, the story to move on. You know, like, you don't want to be dragging it along. But like, the best stories take a little time to tell.
Yeah.
Like, Game of Thrones right now, we're about to see episode 5. Like, everything's building because there's so much build up, because you waited and let the story develop, the payoff emotionally, like just with your emotional investment into the story, it'll pay off. You might pee your pants a little bit.
Part of that is
I do.
Part of that is people's attention spans are so much shorter, it seems like, because they've got something in their pocket they can glance at. I like if I'm reading something hefty, I like to be looking through it. I can see how far I am in the story. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to think about what's gonna happen, or like I always try to predict what I think's gonna happen. A lot of times I'm proven wrong, but I'll look and see how much progress, because you can look physically at the thing and you can tell where's your bookmark. I'm like, okay, I'm 3/4 of the way through.
Something's gonna happen.
How much can really happen right now?
Right.
And stuff like that. So, I have an e-reader, but I like holding the physical book.
When I'm over halfway or 3/4 through a book, I'm feeling intelligent. I'm feeling good. Like, look at me turn these pages and
and even
make these words sound in my head.
Something thicker, and you want to look back, like, oh well, what's he talking about? And you try to page back and find the spot and reread part of it, like reread a couple of pages.
Usually I do that.
On the e-reader, you're just pushing a button or whatever to turn the page.
Doesn't feel as good.
Even just being able, like I said, you look at your progress and like, oh, it was like 1/4 inch back. And you start paging through, and you can glance at like 5 pages in half of a second, compared to like the e-reader. It's harder to do that, I think.
Usually I have to do that because I'll be reading a few pages. This happened more so in school, not reading for pleasure. I'll be reading, and then I realize that the past 8 pages I've been daydreaming, thinking about, chocolate milk and tiddlywinks. And I was like, what the hell have I just read? I got to go back. Then I'm like, I haven't even read this book. What is this book? This book is upside down. I just, damn it, Morty. No, it's reading for me got a lot better once it was for me. Like, I was terrible. I'm super slow, but I just hated reading in school because, like, I had to, right?
Yeah,
like, you have to get a certain amount done.
If it's a topic that doesn't interest you, for sure.
It sucks. But, like, accelerated reader. I mean, looking back at it now, reading should have been a normal part of my life. I just didn't value it at all. And I just didn't like it because I was told to read these books. Like, those books. Lord of the Flies, 1984. Are they good books? Like, of course. But would I have read them if I wasn't told to? Once it's a book that I want to read, I'm more invested. I pay attention because I want to. Mm-hmm. I wrote down a question here. If you were to make a few books mandatory, like if you were in charge of like the high school must-reads, like of Mice and Men's, The Animal Farms, what would be at least one or two like mandatory reads for public schools, even private schools?
I would say 1984.
Yeah.
By Orson Welles, and I'd hesitate to say Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I haven't read that one, but I've been meaning to. But it's on a similar vein.
It does. I get them mixed up from time to time. Similar, like dystopian kind of bibble babble.
Yeah, it's
as
a
the
dystopian future where
intelligent ones say.
Big Brother, aka the government,
Captain,
basically controls everything. And
they're probably tuning in right now through my MacBook.
Indeed, they
through the camera right here. So I mean, if they want to,
we're not saying anything.
They got congratulations to the government. Like they have the first audience members live. There's probably two nerds hunched over a monitor. I got my interns hunched over like, fuck, we gotta listen to this shit. They're probably tracking me for months. Like, all right, Gertz's podcast is starting up.
It's dystopian. It's dystopian future where basically everybody spies on everybody, and you can be thrown in jail for criticizing the government.
Is the United States in a dystopian future right now?
Well, it can't be because the future is not now.
Or was it? I'm sorry. That was terrible.
Did you take the red pill or the blue pill?
Oh, dude, I took them both. Snorted them. That's where I'm at right now. Whatever happens. But, gee willikers.
I got started on Stephen King, and I read, before that, I guess I read, like, Goosebumps, some Hardy Boys.
How hard were the boys?
It was actually, I don't know, it was like, they were getting into, like, adventures and stuff like that.
Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
Were they good and proper and they wore their vests? And
No, they were, they were brothers, and they would, there was always, like, a mystery that they were solving.
Right.
So
That's like classic. Everybody's heard of those,
yeah,
the Hardy
and
Boys.
Good stuff for, like, kids to be reading.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you grow up with the morals and whatnot.
But then, yeah, I got into some Stephen King, and that was kind of when I started reading kind of maybe, like, bigger, like, longer stories.
That's
more
quite the
novels,
jump.
you know. And
My favorite Hardy Boys were Matt and Jeff from WWE. Those are my Hardy Boys. Those guys. That's actually quite the leap from the innocence of the Hardy Boys into the cradling arms of Stephen King.
I did go through a little phase of, like, reading some like frontier type stuff. Jack London, White Fang.
Right.
And I read a couple of classics early on. I was reading some Ernest Hemingway.
Did you ever read the Great Illustrated Classics? Like it's a hardcover book, but you turn a page and there's like a nice drawing, and then there's just size 50. It's just super. They're like an inch thick, but they're super quick reads, and they always made me feel good. Reading a hardcover
Like
back.
children's books?
I would say yeah, they're children's books, but I read them like when I was a child. This is like a couple weeks ago, but
Hey,
it just feels good with the
I
hardcover
read
back
one
book.
tonight.
You know, well, you have the best excuse. You are a level 2 father, aka you have 2 kids. You know, you're reading to them.
Moon is good stuff.
I was gonna ask you.
Kind of strange the first little few times you read it, but it was written in a different time. So.
Well, it's cool to like revisit those,
But it's a
and
classic. No, I really like it. Yeah.
what books? Because I was gonna ask you this. I wrote some good stuff down. What books should kids grow up on early reading? Stephen King might be a little naughty,
maybe a little heavy,
a little hefty.
Heavy.
Like I've seen Holes. Harry Potter probably is a great bridge from, because those kids gotta grow up.
I mean, as far as anything like that, like
The Bible, perhaps.
Animal Farm. I mean,
Animal Farm. Not all
I mean, it's
humans
there's definitely a bigger story there, but for kids though, even there's nothing like violent in it or anything. There's definitely some
world
stuff in there that's slightly dark. Well, from a kid's point of view though, it could be like a kid's story.
The kids got to get introduced to shit. I want to not super early, but
what age range are you talking here, Sandwich? Harry Potter, so like a little.
say
10,
your children. Like, what would you want them reading?
Berenstain Bears.
Right, and then what do you think? Don't get me don't. That would be too far of a deviation to go into a digression to conspiracy theories. That's for another episode, I'm afraid.
So the Berenstain Bears, we got a few of those, but I remember having those read to me when I was a kid.
Absolutely, my mommy always used to do it.
And yeah, my mom and dad read to me. We got a reading family. All my brothers read.
It's a good ritual to do that. Like, one of the cooler things, like go back to on writing, Stephen King described. Because in his books, there's a lot of telekinesis. There's like mind reading, mental powers, and he's like, you know what, reading and like writing and reading is our ability to do that. Because he said, look at me, it's 1998. I'm sitting in my office right now in my leather chair, and I'm writing this, and you right now are reading my words that I've written in the past, right here, right now. Like he describes it in such a way as like not time travel, but our telekinetic powers or telepathic.
Really, if you haven't gotten to Kurt Vonnegut, you should really get into him. It's right up your alley.
Is he pretty
so
moist?
Far up your alley.
How far up my alley?
So far up your alley.
My God, I can
taste it in the back of your throat.
Oh my God, it's all dirty. Oh, okay. Now Kurt sat on my throat. Oh, Kurt with a K. He probably always said that, didn't he? Kurt with a K. No.
No, actually, Kurt Vonnegut just passed away just like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh.
He was definitely one that's up there too. Great American author. Really.
God bless him.
I mean, if somebody was to describe like his stories, it's, you don't know if you call it sci-fi or.
Are they that bizarre?
No, it's just the basis of the story a lot of times isn't the sci-fi, I guess. It's like it's
I
something
say
that's just
intelligently.
it's just something that's slipped in there, and it's not part of like the story he's telling. Like if you ever read Slaughterhouse-Five, that's a great one.
I think I read the cliff notes of it because I'm a piece of shit that slithered his way through
Good Lord, sandwich.
through my literature classes like a snake, stealing answers
No,
because I didn't have what it takes to put in the work.
I got an extra copy actually. I'll give it to you.
Very moist. I have a copy. I did want to talk to you a little bit about Chuck Palahniuk. I read Guts. That's all I read in that
How dare
goddamn haunted book. It's just I heard an interview with him and he was like, "Oh, he went to like writers groups and shit." And he's like, "Yeah, I disturb people with like words because like words made people physically ill with what he like wrote."
It evokes like a physical response from you.
I can't believe it. Well, I was just reading like,
you can
it
hate it. You
cringed.
can hate it for how good it is. I mean, what other? I mean, and it's not just. I mean, if you'd read more than just that story, you'd see it's.
I'm
not
sure
just
there's
about
more. Oh,
being
yeah.
like a shock factor. There's other things going on in that book, but yeah.
Granted,
it's
that's a
all-
one-up.
it's
That's a
all
one-up.
pretty- It's all pretty. That's the most. I think that might be the most. No, that's not the most twisted thing in there.
Guts is not the most twisted. Pregnant sister. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, that's got a lasting effect.
That is quite lasting.
That's got to, yeah, and that
Fits right into that
it's
category on
definitely
Pornhub.
probably the best one now that you mention that.
Oh mercy, that is twisted.
But I mean, Chuck Palahniuk's got a lot of good ones too.
One of the girls that I knew in ad school said that he showed up at her college for like just a speech or whatever, just to talk, and he started throwing like dummy body parts out at the crowd and just said outrageous stuff. He's just a crazy person. Like he's just an absolute loon. But you told me the other day, he got screwed out of so much money.
Oh yeah,
He got diddled.
He's gonna have to work for. I mean, he's not the kind of guy that's just gonna stop working anyway.
No,
but he really can.
That's a cool thing about being a writer is like you can do that
it's
till the day you
great
die.
It's great if you're good at it.
Absolutely.
And people like the stories you tell and how you tell them.
If you can make a living writing books, that would be the bee's knees. That'd be a hoot, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I read somewhere actually recently that young people are more prone to go to physical books rather than the electronic books.
Are they?
Yeah.
A sense of normalcy, a bit of nostalgia,
there's, like,
perhaps.
Some kind of like analog culture coming back. I mean, vinyl's never been bigger.
Yeah,
you know,
I saw some out
since
today in
since
Davis.
The frickin' 70s, right?
Right.
I think. I don't know.
Vinyl. It's big time.
You know, it's the hipster movement.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's something kind of refreshing about it, I guess. Vinyl. I mean, until the fad goes away, but.
Though, and I think some people do, man.
Well, I mean, there's cool turntables out there. There's something nice about a retro feel. Like, it's like you have a respect for what was, but like when it's modernized a little bit. Yeah. Like I'm happy. Like behind me is that James Bond poster I acquired somewhere. Wink, wink, and. I don't know, it's just badass. It's Sean Connery. It's those nice, sexy early 70s oranges and mauves. And
the babes ain't bad either.
And the dames, the Bond babes. Classic looking ladies, right? Different females back in the 60s and 70s, eh?
Indeed.
Different, tougher, durable, hairier, women.
Gritty.
Gritty. I bet they would put in a hard, 8 hours and then be asked to stay 1 more hour to help, close, and they do it with a smile on their face. Those type of ladies. They're down to get the job done whenever it needs to get done, no matter how long it takes. Yet again, I digress. What is it about, do you think, just is it tradition that puts the chaw in there and the baseball players do it, that hard-working blue-collar folks do it, or is it just that good?
I'm just addicted to nicotine.
How dare you? You ever chew the gum?
I haven't, but I really should try. But I digress.
Nah, we all digress. Is it us that addicted to nicotine, or is nicotine addicted to us?
Seems like it's us that's addicted to nicotine.
Indeed. Oh, indeed. Here's a question. What was the question?
We were talking about what kind of books kids should read.
Wait. No,
Somehow
hold
we
on.
ended up talking about Guts.
Hold on. We're going to go back to the
Sean Palahniuk book, which I don't think the kids should be reading.
I remembered what I was going to ask. So
there's
there's so many. Oh, absolutely. So prolific writers, you got your Twains, you got your Hunter S. Thompsons, you got your peeps. Why is it that your Stephen Kings? They're alcoholics, they're drug users. Like a lot of writers enjoy this. I'm sure J.K. Rowling took a couple bumps of some magic powder before she got down to type.
There's all different kinds of people that have different kinds of talents.
Absolutely.
But in a field like that where your creation is in print on bookshelves, on people's bookshelves, on stores' bookshelves, your name's going to live a lot longer than some athlete or whatever, So I think maybe the type of person that's going to be an amazing writer like that is maybe the type of person that's also going to heavily indulge.
Do you think...
Maybe not every single one of them. But
Here's a question. This is totally off the cuff. I apologize. But when it comes to remembering names, we remember these names like Mark Twain. I'm sure J.K. Rowling will be remembered. The Bible. You have these classic authors that your Edgar Allan Poe's. You have these amazing all-star writers, right? So we remember them now in 2019. What kind of names are we going to remember in 1,000 years? Do you think Michael Jordan, like athletes or celebrities, now that they're kind of
Michael Jordan
No,
now.
that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think
Maybe
these
Michael
writers?
Phelps.
Do you think Michael Jordan is 10 times more famous than Michael Phelps? Come now.
No, hold on.
Like, when in terms of, like...
On the world stage, Michael Jordan's competing... Yeah, he competed in the Olympics, 2 times? Michael Phelps is the most winningest Olympic athlete.
I will agree.
In the history of the Olympics. And the Olympics is a lot longer tradition.
No,
than the NBA.
absolutely. But
You know what I mean?
I'd have to, step
Elon Musk are
outside...
going to be remembered.
Michael transcended basketball from the NBA. He brought basketball to the world because he was that good, and I feel like there'll always be a jumping man. I just think culturally, he had more of an impact. Michael Phelps, the winningest Olympian of all time, will go down in history
until somebody else wins more. But
it'll be a
like
tiny little Japanese
stand
boy. I
for a
guarantee
while.
it. Do you think writers' names will still stand the test of time?
Writers' names?
Yeah. Who's going to stand the test of time?
I mean, everybody has heard of Leo Tolstoy, or, even if they've never read anything the guy wrote. I mean, I've never read anything the guy wrote, but I know his name. Mm-hmm. And that guy, he's not that long ago, but, think of...
Had to be doing something right.
Plato. Marcus Aurelius. Those guys wrote books... hundreds, thousands of years ago?
They use philosophy to challenge science, dude.
Their ideas are the basis for a lot of modern societies.
Because they just ask a bunch of questions.
Those guys were one of the few writers back in those days. Mm-hmm. As far as how much stuff was actually being written down.
How much do we believe? Because you've played the game telephone, right? You whisper in somebody's ear. 15 Dumbos later, it's a completely different message when you whisper it. So playing telephone... through thousands of years of one writer passing his works along to the next. Maybe they fabricate some parts, maybe they don't. When they rewrite the script to pass it through the test of time.
No, they got the basis writings, and you can get different translations, and I've heard that can make a difference because it translates. Maybe if it's written in ancient Greek, it translates better in Portuguese or whatever. It's a better description, or the words transfer better. Because sometimes you can tell when you're reading something that's it's written in Russian or Chinese when it was translated into English, and it's like disjointed sentences and stuff like that. But there's some languages where it just flows better. It translates a lot better.
Right.
I've heard that anyways. I only speak English.
Of course.
So I don't know myself, but I've heard.
I've asked my Spanish 4 teacher one time, would
I
the
slept
world
with
be... Oh, it's a spicy language. But I asked her, would the world be better off? Do you think the world would be a better place if there was just one universal language? Her response was, no, languages are very beautiful. They're very culturally based, and it's very ingrained in culture and society and what it means to the people wherever they live.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It'd be easier. I think there'd be, make it easier to get along possibly, or to negotiate without language barriers.
I think technology is going to get us there. There's already translation devices where you basically are just put an earpiece in and somebody's talking to you and it translates it right there. Mm-hmm. So, eventually technologies like that's going to spread across the earth, whether it's 100 years or 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. Eventually pretty much everybody's going to have access to that, and it doesn't matter what language you speak, and communication is going to be a lot easier.
It'll just be there for you. Whatever Elon Musk.
People will find a way to use it to manipulate people, which is
that's
more
what
probable.
It's going to happen, where we have technology in our heads, where like it's the phone or internet access, we have all that.
You just read minds.
It's computers can get hacked, and when that shit's in our minds, people can get hacked, which means they do all sorts of shit, Morty.
Send somebody a virus and they go
They start saying some
murder like a specific person.
Yeah.
They're not even in control of their own body.
That's a pretty gnarly basis for a book right there, if I do say so myself. Send a virus. Ooh.
Speaking of books, Sandwich.
Yeah.
I think I've spoken to you about my movie idea.
Your movie idea?
I digress.
Well, I mean, books, movies, they're...
Well, but it's got to be written before it can be made.
Well, of course, but it's spitfire. It's always good to get these things out. I read a quote once where it's like, one of the greatest pains you can endure is having a story inside you that you haven't told. Something to that effect by, I believe, one Maya Angelou. Oh, I'm turning British now. Look at it. The smarter you get, the more your accent hangs in.
No, post-apocalyptic. You're like on like the top of this mountain. You're on a backpacking trip, since that's my bag.
Yes, sir.
And see like a nuclear bomb or something go off in the distance.
Thank God you have the polar sunglasses on.
We had food for 7 days or whatever, but now, and then we're going back home, but now there isn't a home to go back to.
Dude,
so that's like the start of the...
Do they all have sex with each other?
Jeez.
This is an erotica.
No, it's a group of brothers.
Ah, well, the plot thickens.
Oh my God.
It's two brothers. Rick and Morty. It's two brothers.
Anyways. But anyways, children's books.
Children's books.
I don't know. We got Charlotte's Web, which
what are the little ones reading?
I don't know that Piper's ready to sit down and listen to anything. We gotta finish a story before bedtime. And
gotcha.
That's not it's not a long book, but
the anticipation's gonna keep her awake.
Read it over the course of like a week or two or something.
Yeah.
Read like 10 pages a night or something like that.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It establishes a nice bonding ritual, I should say. That's got to be a nice time. Like, you get to wind down, you get to spend some time with them before they go to bed.
Yeah, no, and it's a good way to get her to do what you want too.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal it's a big deal for her to take away story time.
Mm-hmm. She'll remember that
thing. Like, she doesn't want to go to bed without reading this.
And that's major brownie points for Papa.
She reads books to Jack.
Oh, really?
Jack has a few books that he will grab, and he turns all the pages, and
he probably reads faster than I do.
Pictures and stuff. So yeah, no, it's
definitely
right.
That's good.
It's good to, I don't know. I was a reader when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe help develop your imagination.
Absolutely.
When you're reading something somebody else imagined that they wrote down, and then you read it, and it kind of puts you in that same state of mind where you can close your eyes and picture like what the story's going on. You can picture the character and everything.
It does that. Video games as well. To a certain extent, I'd rather have my kids reading than playing video games all day.
Well, I mean, that it's less that it's something visual though.
It gets
the video game, that's something visual. Whereas, I mean, yeah, you're visually reading the books, but you're saying the words inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
When you close your eyes, if it's a good book, you can picture what the author is describing.
Absolutely, and it's gonna be yours. That's kind of a unique thing. Is like when you're writing, the audience makes of it what they will. Because my main character in my head is gonna look completely different than, say, Goy's, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of a mutual friend's name's Goy. Well, his video game name. Apparently, World of Warcraft picked it out. He did a random name generator. We're talking about how authors love their drugs. What do you think the best drug is to be on while writing? The best.
I don't know.
Which drug? Said Matt, you're gonna write
the most
bestseller.
Unabashed drug user writer that I know of is Hunter Thompson, and he pretty much indulged in all of it.
I think a whole lot.
But it seems it seems to me that a lot of the really good ones at least had a drinking problem. But I mean,
what do you think
the best
drug?
Not necessarily the best of them.
The best drug.
One,
Which drug
probably
would you take?
Smoking some weed or something.
Over acid or shrooms?
Stephen King was really good, and he did a lot of cocaine, I think.
So, I'm thinking if you did shrooms, that might be the best.
Personally, I wouldn't want to be doing anything other than maybe smoking some weed.
Oh, it helps for sure.
But as far as like helping your creativity, yeah, maybe doing some mushrooms or.
Let me tell you the thing with mushrooms.
Some DMT or something.
So mushrooms, it's a tactical advantage because you're gonna grow at least 4 extra arms and get more work done, and therefore, like you're sped up.
Mind's eye, maybe.
The mind's eye. Good Lord, have you opened your mind's eye? Have you seen some shit? Have you seen some things with your mind's eye?
Shit, Morty.
Have you? Where is your mind's eye? In the middle of your head? Is it in the back of your head?
Isn't it like right between your...
It's supposed to be. That's what all the hippies are saying. Right there.
Your third eye.
The third eye. That was the...
Supposedly.
Wiener or something.
Supposedly, it allows you to interact with like the fourth and fifth upper dimensions.
That's what I'm saying. When you're staring at somebody, like you just get the feeling that somebody's staring at you or whatever, and you turn, like there's some kind of connection between us, people, humans.
Yeah,
mentally.
For sure. No, there's
whether it be the mind's eye, like there's something,
an
instinct.
I mean, you even look at like ancient cultures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're definitely more in tune with nature, and they had maybe a different sense that they could sense when certain things were happening and stuff like that. And I mean, we know that birds and a lot of sea animals, they can detect like magnetic fields and stuff like that. So that's how birds know when and where to migrate and stuff like that. So maybe humans can do that too.
I'd say
it's like a latent ability that since we've got technology, we don't have to rely on that type of shit anymore because we got GPS in our phones and we don't need to know what way is north. You know, whereas, you know, back in more ancient times, they didn't necessarily maybe call it north, but everybody knew what direction stuff was and everything.
Right.
Because they needed to.
But what do the animals have? Because I feel like all animals are they're all on the same page. We're not for some reason. They're like how salmon can get back to their mainstream.
In like sharks and different predators, they can detect electromagnetic, you know, signals.
Mm-hmm.
They can tell when a fish is panicked and injured without even fucking seeing it. You know?
They could just sense it in the water.
Who's to say that human beings aren't capable of similar things?
I mean,
it's like why, you know, evolution has maybe taken that away, or maybe it's just a latent ability that maybe even some people maybe do have telekinesis.
Yeah,
and that's
I believe it.
That's some sort of ability that maybe resides in every person, but only if so many people know how to control it or even know that it's there.
Right. I mean,
we're yet
to. What's that? We are the spoon.
You are the spoon. It's not the spoon
that
bends, but it is yourself.
I am excellent quote by the by. I always like to be Big Spoon. I'm not trying to be a misogynist, but I feel like that's where my spot. Do you have a problem being Big Spoon or Little Spoon?
Big Spoon, Little Spoon.
Spooning. With the
Oh.
girl.
The
Big spoon. Big spoon?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. It's, I'm just going to throw Diggler under the bus. My little brother claims it's cool to be the little spoon. I'm throwing him under. There. I'm backing it up with the Greyhound. To be, I mean, nothing's wrong, I guess. Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat.
You know, whatever. I'm
Some
so macho.
Some people think that they're fucking animals.
I am so macho. I have to be the big spoon. Because, you know, I have a cigar in my mouth. I'm got to ash it on my shoulder because I'm just that macho. Fucking, I'll eat it. I don't need to put it out. I'll just eat the thing.
So anyways, children's book?
Oh, man. Just, like, if this conversation was a car, the course would be all wet. We're just sliding all over the place, spinning in circles.
10 minutes ago, Sam.
We got out. Got mud slinging everywhere.
Throwing the fucking chain on, hooking it up to the excavator.
We don't need an excavator. We're good. We got nothing but time.
I got Charlotte Webb is on deck.
All right.
Piper can hold on for maybe reading a story over the course of a week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That there's a whole series that go along with that. I didn't even know there was a whole series for that. There is. It's like 8 books.
Did you ever read with the Willy Wonka book and the one afterwards? Like, he goes into hell to save the grandparents.
Wow, no.
It's wild.
I've never read it, and I'll bet that it's pretty strange.
It was read to me in school. Our teacher. Did you ever have that in elementary school? Just it stopped about like the 5th grade, but the teacher would just sit up in the front and read to us.
Yeah,
just kind of dope. I honestly enjoyed that. It's kind of cool.
We would have that, and then at least a few days a week, couple days a week at least. One of my friends' moms would come, and we had like a little library. We went to a Catholic school, St. John's Elementary.
St. James over here, buddy. We were the Falcons. What were you?
We didn't. It was an elementary school. We didn't have sports.
What was your mascot? No mascot?
No mascot.
No mascot.
We had uniforms, white shirts, and navy blue pants.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Girls wore like plaid jumpers.
Brother. Give me we just did like a Predator type bicep clasp. Probably the manliest thing.
Like Hogan and Randy Savage.
I gotta go Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers from Predator. Tell me it's like every guy that watches that, you begin to grow a third testicle. I'm telling you. That much testosterone.
Maybe Stallone and Carl Weathers.
Stallone, they never did
Rocky?
an arm clasp. Well, I mean, that was macho, but just the singular arm clasp moment.
They're sweaty, wearing tank tops, jumping around, hugging each other. I mean...
Well, I mean, that's great.
That
is nice.
Not macho, then I don't know if I know what the definition of macho is.
Let me give you the definition of macho. Volleyball scene, Top Gun.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Maverick and Goose and the Mavericks. Like, just all dudes, no girls allowed. Sunset, we're getting sweaty, we're getting sandy, and balls are getting tossed around and slapped by grizzled and calloused hands that are lotioning up. Sorry, I go on tangents. Just saying, that might be the most macho, manliest, manly man scene.
That's right up there, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Those guys. They put tobacco up their nose, Morty. 3 cigars at one time. 2 in each ear. Then they they salt one of their eyes. They just stick the shaker in there. That's what men do.
So anyways.
And eating beef jerky.
At Piper's school, Little Pioneers,
Mm-hmm.
they do like book time, like they read stories and stuff in the class, like you're singing songs and stuff that you learned at school.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I think that really, for me, that had a big impact, and that is part of why I think I really liked reading growing up.
Because it's the enthusiasm they use, that positive energy, like you take that in as part of the reading experience.
Yeah.
And then that becomes your enthusiasm when you're reading it. Like, you want to make a good impression to your kids. You don't want them to hear a monotone voice telling a story, because then they're just going to be like,
yeah,
cool, I'm going to read. That's going to be my inner monologue now. Just dopey voice. I want enthusiasm. I want expression. I want pictures. I love pictures in my books. Maybe that's why I like movies.
Yeah, actually, my friend, her son, just texted me like 2 weeks ago. They're going to be out next month. Stay at our house a couple of nights.
Really?
Josh Pauly.
Very nice. I'll tell you one
the
thing.
The most diverse friend that I had growing up. Asian.
How diverse? Asian.
Only
that's a good one to have.
That I grew up with.
Well, you need
that I even really knew until like high school.
You got to complete the friendship ring, you know. Got to catch them all. You got to catch all the friends. Yeah. Do you have any idea how many genders friends you have to have now?
What?
You got to hunt them down. You have to have all the races, all the sexes.
No. I don't think so.
Little people.
I don't think so, but I think it does.
Furries.
I know, but I think that does have a good effect on your life to know different kinds of people. Even if they're not different races, but just a lot of different types of people.
Different thinkers. You need to have liberals and conservatives in your lives. Well, I mean, no, like Klansmen or anything like that. Of course, they're.
Well, I
wouldn't
mean,
say be the best friends to have.
Not necessarily just that, but I mean, just people that have had different life experiences.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily somebody from a different country, but I mean, I grew up in, white bread America. Great innocent upbringing.
Bimbo.
I know people that grew
that white
up
bread?
in the fucking hood. They got a very different, set of experiences compared to me, and I think it's just valuable to have people that have or know people that have like had different experiences. Makes me value mine more, I think.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, it's because a lot of
stuff I grew up doing, kids don't get to do now.
No, I would never let my kid out of my sight when they're going like on the bicycle or like biking to school or something.
Then that makes it that your own fault then.
Because
when you look at it, Sandwich,
right?
There's never been a safer time to be alive. Like compared to when we were growing up, look at look at statistics,
right?
And you're gonna see that when we were growing up, it was a more dangerous world. Yet we still got to run around.
I just feel like there's so much bad shit that can happen.
Overprotective. Yeah, there's bad shit that can happen, but as far as kids go, if bad shit's gonna happen, 90% of the time it's somebody that you fucking know. It's not some creepy fucking stranger. That's a rare occurrence. But it does happen, and how could you forgive yourself if you just weren't super precautious?
I could not imagine like somebody that like that's a crazy. I mean, you can't argue statistics. Maybe it's just everything I've seen in the news.
The kind of thing people just fucking make up,
Yeah,
it's like when the shit gets reported, it fucking happens.
Yeah, I would just not. I know there is being overprotective. I don't want to be a helicopter parent, but at the same time.
But anyways, I mean,
don't trust
when
people.
I was growing up, shit in the summertime, my parents didn't unless we were doing something as a family, we were out running around the town with our friends and stuff, riding our bikes around and stuff, and I just don't necessarily see that happen.
Did you go to the lake and swim with old man Jenkins?
No, but we would go tubing down the creek, take our inner tubes, walk down the train tracks.
Like Stand By Me.
Very Stand By Me.
Yeah.
And that may be why that connects with me. I don't know.
Are you
we jump off the train bridge.
Have you ever been a cheap dime store hood?
No.
No.
But there was a few of them around town.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy, bad boys, huh?
Yeah. Nobody was doing anything crazy. I mean, but in more recent years, definitely my hometown is gone downhill. It sounds
really.
Like. Yeah.
They're ordering waters but filling it up with 7-Up and Sprite. Sick sons of bitches. I'm not gonna lie, I've pulled that a couple of times before. And guess what? It tastes even better because it's so bad. It bubbles a little. Even if it was flat, it'd still be all fizzy with evil. God, yes, Morty.
Jellybean.
Yo, Mr. Jellybean. There's going to be a lot of Rick and Morty references in episodes to come.
Indeed.
And go with the flow. Oh, that was terrible. A bad impersonation of an even worse scene.
So children's book Sandwich.
That should be like just to get us back on topic. So children's books.
No matter what the topic.
Doesn't matter. We could be talking about so with you, because we've already gone over an hour. But from you, we can also expect outdoors expertise, like REI, some equipment. We'll be talking more about that in episodes to come.
That's my bag.
It is your bag. And then, we can also do an episode
maybe
on
a little bit of reading in the outdoors.
Reading in the outdoors?
I don't do as much as I probably should. But
Rat bastard. Well, when we go on our like little walkabout, I'm gonna bring a
yeah.
book. I'm gonna do me some reading, do me some
They can
drawing.
bury us a peek.
Little peek. We'll have an episode of that.
Bury us a
What's
peek,
like,
man.
hell yeah.
Do a podcast on the trail.
I could just pass. We can pass the phone back and forth. We can do like a before and after
Rogan
during
says.
little thing. Why not? Rogan, the blueprint, right?
Well, that's what a lot of people.
That's
say.
all. I'll refer
That's
to
what a
the
lot of
Joe
people
Rogan podcast as the blueprint.
say. The blueprint.
But I mean, I feel like we digressed a bit, but there's also a bunch of stuff we talked about that I'd like to go in further about, just say like Black Mirror episodes or enter different dimensions, mental capacities, just the we're gonna paint the void with expressions.
A lot of that stuff is just a lot of secondhand knowledge that I have. So maybe I need to actually read a book about some of that stuff
Let's do it.
before I speak too much on it.
Maybe you can also talk about how you feel. We can do that here. We can talk about our
I
feelings.
don't know. It's just with some of that stuff though. It's like I don't know. Maybe you just do need to go with the feeling. It's not
Absolutely.
something like you can collect data on.
Just and I love anecdotal evidence.
How would you have the instruments to collect data in the fourth dimension?
You don't, because
Well, the fourth
nothing
dimension is
physical
time,
exists
But
there.
the fifth dimension, if you stepped into another dimension, how would your eyes aren't equipped? Maybe they are though.
It's probably
Maybe
a different.
by taking DMT,
You can get there.
that it turns on those receptors.
Possibly.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah?
anyways.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm very intrigued by it. Mostly, well, a lot because it's like you take it in a controlled setting, and it's like a 15-minute thing. It's not like acid where you take it and you're like on the ride for like 12 hours.
I can dig that.
You know?
Ooh, I like that. Love it. Children's books. Well, I'd say that's a successful first recording. We're gonna chop this up. We're getting our feet wet here. I'm glad we finally be able to get in there and do this. So
toes
thanks
are
for
damp.
coming out. Your toes are damp, Morty. Oh, my feet. That's a man shake, if anything. Wow, now like it's actually a freaking thing. Now I can start editing it, get it ready. I want to get 10 of these bad boys done
10 of them,
before
okay.
for season 1, just so I could stay relevant. Like, and then for the next 10 weeks, drop them on the website, put it on Facebook, Insta, whatever.
Okay.
That's the plan. Well, anyways, takeaway from this: people, do some, read some books, do some books. That's the real drug. Let your eyes.
That's the drug of choice.
That is the drug of choice. When it comes to books, let it be cocaine and use your eyes as your means to snoring that shit up into your mind. Enjoy it. Books are good. They get the creative juices flowing, and just stay hydrated.
Indeed.
Indeed. All right, guys. See you next time.